Hello Divine Souls, and welcome to my channel, Journey of Soul Mastery. I am your host, Rebekah Cortez. This is part 3 of a 3-part series, 3 tiers of reclaiming empowerment, and this is Ascension of Multidimensional Consciousness. So let's get started. The conscious represents our universal, multidimensional potential. It extends into reality the expression of our core beliefs that are drawn upon from the subconscious based on our negative or positive attachments that formulate within the unconscious that influence our level of conscious perception. It is the pathway of unification that aligns creatorship frequency, potential of self, and higher dimensional states of consciousness, authentic truth and expression, to be tangibly experienced. Multidimensional consciousness is a process of acceptance that sparks the seeds of awareness that unites universal self with universe, operating as one heartbeat of harmonic wave frequencies of potential. But let's dive in a little deeper. Consciousness represents the potentiality of authentic universal flow states that is everyone's divine birthright to experience in their human existence because we are conscious beings. When we speak of empowerment, it is just another term utilized to harness the ascension of frequencies on a multidimensional potential that sparks the returning to wholeness states, which reflects the process of unifying with higher resonating frequencies of your universal beingness. The point to you as conscious beings incarnating to participate in the collective human experience is to allow expansion of consciousness, which everything in your lives assists in experiencing both to the positive and negative. Your perceptions reflect the internal openness or lack of openness to the journey of self-mastery in the realm of physicality. The process of self-mastery and physicality describes the returning to one's wholeness of universal potentiality, which is multidimensional. Self-mastery is the process of constantly expanding consciousness, and the path that assists our conscious engagement to this process is awareness. The path of enlightenment is the gateway of remembrance. Awareness equates to remembering because as you elevate your awareness, you lift the veil of amnesia states that every soul experiences when it travels through the birthing portal to be born as human on this planet. This amnesia state allows you to exercise free will in igniting the journey of returning to wholeness so that the maximum expansion of consciousness can unfold of your own free will. And as you elevate your awareness, you experience initiations of activation that awaken your dormant spiritual DNA. So you operate within the fullest spectrum of potential while in physicality as human. This promotes alignment, or also referred to as unification, to the integration of universal soul potential. Consciousness is not something you need to acquire as if it is outside of your scope of ability. Consciousness is what you are, just as much as you are energy, because consciousness of universe is a living energy force, and you express your levels of consciousness according to the foundations that structure your core perception of your potential as individuals. Journeying through the transformation, transmutation, and ascension process unlocks access to your universal divinity on a multidimensional level. a full surrendering process of ego, or other words, the basis of a third dimensional perception of consciousness, is part of the acceptance process. You are of your own free will choosing to accept your universal divine beingness despite the conditional third dimensional influences such as negative conditioning and imprinting that you experience that created false beliefs or false truths that you adopt as a perceived aspect of your lower vibrational conscious truth until you choose to elevate into higher dimensional realms of consciousness that dismantle the illusions of falseness. On Earth at this time, all individuals have access to experience realities within 3D, 4D, and 5D states of consciousness. The process of transforming the unconscious of ego states and transmuting the subconscious states will accelerate the internal shift of ascending into higher states of higher dimensional conscious potential. We must initiate the path of transformation and transcendence through willingness of heart to expand our awareness. The journey of self-mastery is a conscious process of returning to wholeness and unification states of consciousness, to reclaim the universal truth and potential to experience higher levels of connectivity, unity, love, and sovereign self, and the empowerment that comes from operating from these divine states of ascended conscious. We experience elevated stages of conscious dimensionality when we commit to the path of awareness by remaining conscious and ever present of our existence. This requires us to take ourselves off autopilot and operate in the moment and in states of awareness to be fully present in our realities of existence. Being in the moment means that we are not negatively over-focused on the past or exhausting too much energy worrying about the future and what the future holds for us, to the point that we cannot remain centered positively in the present. There is purpose in exploring the past for healing, to transform pain into peace through elevated understanding, and we must stay committed to the process of transmuting all that stifles our highest potential. The existence of reality we are experiencing on Earth represents a third dimensional state of consciousness. But we are not limited to this third dimensionality of consciousness. The third dimensional state of existence predominantly operates from lower vibrational influences of ego. We hardly ever experience deep-seated fulfillment in third dimensional states that are long-lasting because the focus is centered around the external more than the internal states of beingness. We primarily rely on our immediate senses, logic, and reason to shuffle through life experiences. And even if we experience flickers of our higher sense of abilities, such as intuition, we usually chalk it up to being coincidence or a weird phenomenon that we have no conscious connection of energetic resonance with. The reality we experience in a 3D consciousness can be described as the ever-persistent pursuit of fulfillment and looking into the void of the lower vibrational means to attain it. A third dimensional reality is very conditional driven. These conditions become our prison that suppress our highest divine abilities and potential when we adopt the falseness that conditions control our existence, and when we form a negative attachment to the lie that we are powerless to do anything about it. We adopt falseness mindsets because of the ego-driven imprinting we are exposed to, starting when we're young. And out of a need to belong and survive, we follow paths that don't resonate fully for the sake of receiving external validation and acceptance. Third dimensional programming maintains mindsets that perpetuate patterns of conformity and compliance that are fear-based for the sake of control. The more we adopt falseness as truth, this results in us experiencing disempowered states of existence because we cannot experience authenticity while attached to falseness, deep-seated within our unconscious states. The longer we feed into negative programming, the more we will suffer and experience unfulfillment, because a third dimensional ego-driven foundation are structured to discourage and oppress liberation, repress authentic freedom of higher expression, and suppress empowerment. It is when we hit the point that we are utterly sick of the suffering and we have exhausted our efforts chasing our tails in pursuit of fulfillment to connect to what has meaningful purpose, that we cannot satisfy in ego-driven states, that we finally open to the pathway of self-love and worthiness enough to tap into the courage to go against the grain, to connect to paths that promote liberation, free thinking, and embrace our right to be seekers of truth that awakens us to identify and see straight through the illusions of falseness we have been conditioned to believe. All that we thought was structured to be our redemption starts to dismantle, and we start to feel the conflict internally of all the lower vibrational components that are in strict opposition to our authenticity and higher potential. The path of awakening promotes healing through transformation to transcend lower vibrational states of existence. In part 1, I stated that the only way to find peace is not in wishing that the painful experiences never happened, because we can't go back in time and change the experiences that we have encountered, and this is truth from a third dimensional perspective of consciousness. When we're operating in the 3D or third dimensional perspective of consciousness, the starting place to ignite healing is to choose to be to and for yourself what others are or were never willing to be to and for you. This is the greatest gift of healing that we can offer to ourselves when operating in a third dimensional reality. But there's a higher form of healing that we can achieve beyond the constructs of a 3D perspective. In higher states of conscious dimensionality, we can energetically follow the pathway back to the experience and heal the past by transmuting the falseness of powerlessness, by reclaiming our power. And we do this by detaching from the false core belief that we are powerless to change anything. For example, when past experiences surface, we can either stuff it back down into the unconscious states and try to lock it away again, only for it to resurface at another time, which it always will. Or we can choose to face the experience from a place of absolute love for self, because we know we are worthy of healing to get to the peace on the other side of pain. So next time a memory surfaces that sparks the remembrance of an experience that was negative, elevate your perception to look at it as opportunity to forever alter your negative attachment to it by reclaiming your power. Do this by taking a moment to visualize yourself doing the exact opposite in that experience of what you chose to do in that moment of the original encounter. Say what you wish you would have said. Do what you wish you would have done. See yourself resisting the falseness and take back your power, so you stop mentally attaching to the idea that the experience still has power over you. Speak the truth you would have spoken. Take the action you should have taken. Do what is required to heal and forever close this chapter of your life in a healthy and healing way. You may perceive this as fantasy that won't make any difference, but actually this is falseness, perpetuating more programming of powerlessness. Ego will pull you into mental directions to satisfy vengeance and revenge more than lighted desire for healing and closure. I want to caution you against not entering this practice from a lower vibrational desire to cause harm energetically to another, but rather purely from a place of love for yourself, with the desire to reclaim your empowerment. If you approach this with the intent to wield as much pain onto another like they did to you, then disempowerment will still be your outcome. You cannot heal by wielding negative with negative. You cannot regain true empowerment by negatively overpowering someone or something else. This exercise has less to do with the offenders of your past and much more to do with you. You must visualize a positive result happening that will bring closure in a way that will not disempower you further. Whatever the experience details for you, come up with a happier ending to your story and allow yourself to feel deeply the emotions of peace and satisfaction, and let everything else go regarding this experience once and for all, and take only this positive remembrance of the story with you. This practice is teaching you how to work to your greatest favor in life. It is teaching you to have the strength to speak your truth. It is encouraging you how to connect to your courage. It is teaching you how to love yourself and connect with your worthiness and value, to see yourself as more. You will feel less and less powerless as you incorporate this practice of energetically transmuting your past experiences and reclaiming peace and closure. This will also assist you in understanding on a deeper level how to honor yourself moving forward through life. Don't fall into the patterns of the past. Allow yourself the right to have a voice, take action, and embrace your right to experience empowerment in your reality of existence. There are many lighted beings, star races, ascended masters, assisting humanity in its ascension into the fifth dimensional states of conscious existence, but most of the collective are still wrestling between 3 and 4D states of conscious realities. Ascension into higher consciousness requires diligent awareness to shed ego states and not fall back into old patterns, old programming of falseness. We are all struggling in our own ways through the divine process of returning to wholeness states of consciousness, and we need to promote more higher vibrational energies of love, compassion, and empathy, and operate less from lower vibrational energies of judgment, rejection, and criticality, not just towards self, but others, to promote the ascension into a 5D consciousness on a collective and planetary level. It is and always has been about love. Love is a gateway that promotes all ascension potential. It starts first by us extending it to ourselves and initiates our ability to connect to a higher unconditional love that is extended to others in ways that resonates within the harmonies of universal unification. Unification signifies the synchronization of our internal constructs of fragmented self that is working in harmony with soul and not in conflict. This means we must shed the old that is not serving our unification progress. To experience a reality that produces desired outcomes of fulfillment, you must elevate your perception of self, others, in the world to resonate in harmony with soul frequencies of higher dimensionality. When we elevate our awareness, we take an elevated perspectives that work in harmony and unification to all things in existence. We are in full control of our reality of existence. We are more than capable of managing our existence from an elevated perception, because the consciousness that is soul is also the consciousness that is you in physicality. And the consciousness of universe is also one and the same consciousness as you. The more you allow yourself to step into the knowingness that you create with the universe, and that nothing is happening to you, but rather everything is happening with you, you can step into the conscious states that embrace your divine creatorship potentiality, that from states of empowerment, and shed the falseness that stifles your divine truth, that perpetuates disempowerment. When we allow ourselves to embody soul potential and internally resonate with the universal truths of our potential, then we can experience all unconditional emotions, feelings, and states of higher unification and existences that embody connectivity despite any conditions we may encounter along our journey through life. We can liberate ourselves from the imprisonment of conditions and forever shift our reality of existence to be utterly fulfilling, because there is no condition powerful enough to supersede our will to operate from unconditional internal states. Thank you so much for listening. Please support this channel by subscribing, like the video, click the bell if you'd like to receive future notifications of upcoming videos, and share this content with someone you believe could benefit. Bye for now.